Today is August the 4th. Is how we talk important? We have a short passage to read today. Colossians 4 from 2 to 6. Devote yourselves to prayer, keeping alert in it with thanksgiving. At the same time, pray also for us, that God will open to us a door for the word, that we may declare the mystery of Christ, for which I am in prison, so that I may reveal it clearly as I should. Conduct yourself wisely toward outsiders, making the most of the time. Let your speech always be gracious, seasoned with salt, so that you may know how you ought to answer everyone. Is how we talk important? Apparently, it really is. Paul here has a couple of general exhortations. Those exhortations are, first of all, pray. Pray for yourself, pray for me. Second, he says, conduct yourself wisely. Be smart about what you do. Then he says, make the most of the time that you have. In other words, he's saying, get to work. Don't dilly-dally. He realizes that just saying get to work probably doesn't mean a lot to a lot of the people. So he explains what he means there. Speak with grace, but season it with salt. This is very much like Ephesians 5:16. When he says, make the most of the time that you have. What he literally says in Greek is purchase the time that you have. Redeem the time, some of the translations say. It's kind of strange, and that's why he explains it a little bit more. When you speak with grace. Be gracious in how you speak to people. But there will come times that you need to season that with salt. Now, what is seasoning with salt? Well, the first obvious meaning is salt embellishes food. It brings out flavor in food. So speak with grace and make it attractive, make it tasty. To a certain degree, I think what that means is as we share the gospel, we should actually practice. We should look for attractive ways to present the gospel, make our presentation of the gospel attractive. But also salt sometimes adds a bite to food. Sometimes let your words be gracious, but there are times when you have to make them a little bit salty, that you have to confront. Now, in the Old Testament, the book of Proverbs talks quite a bit about attractive speech. Let's read Proverbs 16, verses 21 to 30.
Proverbs 16, verses 21 through 30, New Revised Standard Edition. The wise of heart is called perspective, and pleasant speech increases pervasiveness. Wisdom is a fountain of life to one who has it, but folly is the punishment of fools. The mind of the wise makes speech judicious, and adds pervasiveness to their lips. Pleasant words are like honeycomb, sweetness to the soul and health to the body. Sometimes there is a way that seems to be right, but in the end it is the way to death. The appetite of workers works for them, their hunger urges them on. Scoundrels concoct evil, and their speech is like a scorching fire. A pervasive person spreads strife, and a whisper separates close friends. The violent entice their neighbors and lead them in a way that is not good. One who winks the eye plans perverse things. One who compresses the lip brings evil to pass.
So Solomon there says, when you speak, make your words attractive. but also the Old Testament talks about the need to confront. Now, we have talked before about how the command to love your neighbor is actually from the Old Testament. But the larger context, those verses where the law says love your neighbor, is Leviticus chapter 19, verses 17 and 18. Let me read both of those verses to you. You shall not hate in your heart any one of your kin. You shall reprove your neighbor. In other words, confront your neighbor when he needs confronting, or you will incur guilt yourself. But don't take vengeance or bear a grudge against any of your people, but you shall love your neighbor as yourself. I am the Lord. So it's interesting that the command to love your neighbor occurs in the context of loving them enough to being willing to confront them. Speak with grace, but be salty when you need to be salty. So what do we do about this today? Speak with grace, and when you see the need to be salty gracefully. Scripture reading from the New Revised Standard Version by Emily Herrera. Today, I want to encourage you to read Scripture.